program. Good to be with you. Glad you're on board. JD here. Hope you had a great weekend. Your 6'3" ATM of Informacion loaded up, ready to be accessed. The PIN 800-876-4123 on the program where we like flying a little turbulent. Oh, speaking of flying, Jed Babin's going to join us at the bottom of this hour, giving Mitt Romney some advice on the opportunities that Obama is presenting to he and his campaign. And there's a certain aerobatic type maneuver that Jed Babin says Mitt Romney needs to incorporate in his campaign in order to maximize the potential he has in November. Are women a little crazy? We got nobody. Any crazy women stories over the weekend we can speak of? No? I don't have any. You have any? I'm getting thumbs down from everybody.
We're not that
all right, fine. And our politics a little messy. We can always count on that one to be a constant. Marcelo working the dials, Brad producing the program. Emails at the website, jerrydoyle.com. And the poll question that's up there for you today. In 2005, Congress voted to prohibit student debt from being discharged in bankruptcy, except in rare cases. Now, Congress is looking to rewrite that law to make it easier to walk on the loans. What do you say to this? Wow, nobody says that sounds fair to me. 29% say, why not just BK all debts and hit the reset button? 71% saying Congress pimping for votes. Your answer there at the website or here at 800-876-4123. Let's go with the 29%ers for just a moment, Tito, shall we? Oh, also on the program today, Warren Littlefield, the former president of entertainment of NBC, has a great new book out called Top of the Rock, Inside the Rise and Fall of Must-See TV. And it's not just so much in reading the book, which I finished this morning, from the standpoint of, you know, the glory days of Will and Grace and Seinfeld and Frasier, et cetera. But it's how good shows got made and why good shows aren't being made today and what it is we're seeing on TV and why we are. And are we going to see a move back to people taking risk? And one of the terms that he uses in the book, or in one of the meetings that they were having with regard to what kind of program they were going to see on television going forward, was LOP, least objectionable programming. Basically to take the cutting edge away from the knife and just basically give us a dull butter knife of programming when nobody's really offended, but nobody's really entertained. And I think Saturday Night Live would certainly be an example of how we've just gone from what was edgy, fun, hip, cutting edge, leading edge kind of programming to just beige. You know, it's just occasionally there's a joke, occasionally, but not the kind of stuff that they used to do when they were really pushing the envelope. With regard to this, why not BK all debt and hit the reset button? There was a book that was written a few years back. Brad, do you remember the guy? He was a guest on the program a bunch of times.
Just sending it to you.
Charles Murray, that's great. Excellent Googling there. No wonder you're a producer in this business, Mr. Snurtley.
Check out
Charles
the big
Murray.
brain on Brad.
Check out the big brain on Brad. Charles Murray was proposing a few years back, and it was kind of along the lines of one of those bold, sweeping proposals where somebody went, "Ooh, that's a lot. That's a lot of stuff to put down there." Like when Paul Ryan came out with the Path to Prosperity, and everybody looked at it and said, "Wow, that makes sense, but it's just a lot to do, and I'm not sure we can do it." You know, the good program that Newt Gingrich called right-wing social engineering. Anyway, Charles Murray's idea was, why don't we just give people money every year, and then we let them take care of themselves, and we let them invest for their future, and we let them pay their own bills, and then we eliminate food stamps, unemployment insurance, Section 8 housing, Social Security, Medicare, and the government gives you $10,000. Now, I don't remember whether did it start at birth or did it kick in at 18 or 21 or something. But basically, you know, what's the average life expectancy now? Is 79 and a half years. Let's call it 80, $10,000 a year, $800,000. I mean, that's a decent amount of money. And people are like, well, that's kind of a radical notion, isn't it? Is it? Think about it for a second. Congress right now, back in 2005, first and foremost there, they voted to prohibit student loans from being discharged in bankruptcy. And there were rare cases where you could have it discharged in bankruptcy. But they basically, the premise was in 2005, or did Congress know something was coming? Again, there's something we can talk about, too. We're going to create a student loan bubble just like we created a housing bubble and an auto loan bubble and all the other bubbles that this monetary policy of the Fed and Congress's stupidity seem to manage to create from time to time to time to time and yet time again. But the thinking was in 2005, well, these kids are in college. They don't have a major asset. They don't have a home, or they don't own their own car. For the most part, they don't. And what do they have going out into the world? Debt. Student loan debt. And how do you repossess a mind? How do you take back an education? And Congress said, well, they're just going to walk on these loans. So we can't let them do that. So Congress in 2005 said, "Niet" to walking on student loans. But now, here we are in this election year where there's $1 trillion in student loans, and Congress now is looking at the unfairness of the world, the unfairness of what college students are facing going forward. And Congress is looking at rewriting, or as they call it, tempering their position. Now, of course, this is being introduced first and foremost by a Democrat, and that would be Dick, appropriately named Durbin, the Democrat senator from Illinois. He said, well, we really, we got to look at this. And because this is just, it's an issue of fairness, and he wants to make it easier for borrowers to shed debt issued by private lenders, not loans backed by the government, not yet. You all know which way that's going. Now, they asked the head of the Republican Senate Judiciary Committee, the top Republican there, Chuck Grassley, the Republican from Iowa, and they said, hey, Chuck, what's your position on Dick Durbin telling people that they can walk on their loans? And Chuck Grassley, who has an opinion on everything, said, I haven't taken a position on the Durbin bill because he's waiting to see which way the winds are blowing, and he wants to read the political tea leaves to see which way this is going to settle out for votes in November. But Dick Durbin says, well, we really have to take a look at this because, again, this is the campaign, or a major part of the Obama campaign is the issue of fairness. It's not fair that you went to college, got an education, graduated with all these debts. You don't have a home, you don't have a car, you don't have a high-paying job, you don't have a fat 401k account yet, and you don't have the lifestyle to which your parents have become accustomed and you've become even more accustomed to. But this is also a big societal shift that's taken place. Kids come out of college and think that they should have the big home like their parents, and they should have 2 or 3 cars like their parents, and they should have a fat retirement account like their parents, and they want what their parents have, but they don't want to have to work for it. And this is not an indictment of your little children's out there, so don't call up bitching and complaining that I'm throwing your kid under the bus. This is about people who have an attitude, an entitlement mentality, which is the manifestation of this socialist president, where you don't have to work for anything. You don't have to struggle. You don't have to suffer. And they say now, over the last decade, student debt has surged as tuition has climbed. Well, why has tuition climbed? Because the government decided to squeeze the private lenders out of the marketplace. 7% of the loans today are private lenders. 90% plus is coming from the government. The government creating a student bubble. Now, what do you think an educational institution is going to do when they see that there's tons of money out there and the government's printing money and printing money and printing money for the purposes of education? They're going to compete for those dollars because wherever cheap money is created, the marketplace is going to rush to the cheap dollars in an effort to get those cheap dollars. And how are they going to do it? They're going to put marble countertops in the bathrooms. They're going to put Starbucks in the entryways of the dorms. They're going to have the best sports facilities. They're going to do everything they can to attract that, but all of that costs money. So what do? They raise tuition. They raise tuition. They raise tuition. They print more money, print more money, print more money, and hence what do you get? A student loan bubble. But now they're saying this isn't really fair. Now, who do you think is behind this? Is it just Dick, appropriately named Durbin, the Democrat from Illinois? Is it just Mitt Romney, who used to agree that the Republicans' position of raising the interest rate on student loans was a good idea, but now says it's a bad idea? Must be getting closer to November. Mitt? Bankruptcy lawyers are lobbying for the change. Why? A lot more business for the bankruptcy lawyers. This, again, gets back to the notion of what really drives this country. You follow the money, you understand the policy, or the stupidity of the decisions that are made by people in Congress who are owned by lobbyists who are going to follow the money. Just like financial and education institutions follow the money, if you follow the money on Capitol Hill, you come to understand why these kind of decisions are attempting to be made. Now, they say this student debt surge, this $1 trillion-plus debt industry, evil corporate industry, that they took away from evil corporate America and gave it to even more evil, more dysfunctional government America. They say, well, look at where the environment the college graduates are coming out in. College graduate earnings are in decline. When you come out of college and you have no income and you get a job, wouldn't that be an earnings increase?
Yes.
Wouldn't that be where you went from zero to hero? When you got 25 or 35, well, I don't know, how much does this kid make coming out of college these days? I don't know, 30, 40, $50,000 a year. Maybe if you got an advanced degree, it's higher than that. 70, 80 if you're a lawyer, maybe you're making $1.20. I really don't know. But I know when I came out of college, back in the days when I learned to fly with the Wright brothers, we were coming out, and if we could score $2,000 a month, it was like, are you kidding me? $2,000 a month every month in a check with my name on it? I felt like I was Rockefeller or Getty. But now they're saying, just the fact that they have a job, or if they can get a job, the wages that they're going to get for those jobs aren't what it used to be. Therefore, we have to take a look at debt structures, and we have to figure out a way to forgive these children's of their student loans. Now, we're looking at the government forgiving in a lot of areas. Home mortgages, criminal activity on Wall Street. So you can basically pay to play. But back to the notion of Charles Murray's idea of giving everybody $10,000 a year, and we eliminate all programs, social programs, and all safety nets. We're doing that anyway. Because we're going to take $1 trillion here in student loans and say, not your fault, bad economy, forgive those debts. You took out housing loans that you couldn't afford, not your fault, you can't pay them. Lousy economy, we'll let that go away. We forgive debts everywhere we turn. We forgive debts to nations to the tunes of tens of billions of dollars. What about the notion if we just cancel out all debt in America? There is no more debt. You own your home. You own your car. You don't have a credit card bill anymore. I mean, I know that sounds outlandish, and I know it sounds appealing to a certain degree, but that's exactly what this sellout government is doing. They're forgiving selective groups and individuals the opportunity to walk on their responsibilities under the guise of fairness in an attempt to manipulate the electorate to get more power in November.
The Jerry Doyle Show.
Maybe Charles Murray's idea would help to shrink the size and scope of this absolutely crooked government we have. For now. 800-876-4123 is the number. Jed Babb in the bottom of this hour. Warren Littlefield, former NBC president of entertainment, next hour. And Drop Dead Healthy, a new book from A.J. Jacobs, one man's humble quest for bodily perfection. Lots to get to on the program today. I'm Jerry Doyle. Join me.
This is the Jerry Doyle Show.